There is a dangerous illusion spreading through this generation, and it is the lie that you can drift your way into strength, that you can coast your way into greatness, that you can stumble your way into usefulness. You cannot. Drift never sharpens a blade. Comfort never forges steel. Ease never builds an edge. An edge is not accidental. An edge is carved. Look at a sword before it is forged. It is nothing more than raw metal, dull, shapeless, unremarkable. It has potential, yes, but potential is cheap. Potential fills graveyards. Potential boasts and dreams and talks about what could be. But only fire, pressure, and relentless shaping turn that metal into something that can cut. You say you want an edge. You say you want to stand out. You say you want to be disciplined, focused, effective, dangerous to mediocrity, and powerful for good. But let me ask you, are you willing to endure the fire required to build it? Because the fire is not comfortable. The world is filled with people who admire sharpness, but despise sharpening. They admire strength, but avoid strain. They admire conviction, but fear confrontation. They admire courage, but flee discomfort. They want the appearance of an edge, without the process that produces it. You cannot build your edge in the shadows of laziness. You cannot build your edge while feeding every appetite that demands immediate gratification. You cannot build your edge while negotiating with weakness. Some of you are constantly negotiating with your own flesh. You wake up with intention, but you negotiate with your bed. You set goals, but you negotiate with distraction. You speak of discipline, but you negotiate with indulgence. And then you wonder why your life feels dull, why your words carry no weight, why your presence changes nothing. An edge is built when a man or woman decides that comfort will no longer rule them. You want to build your edge. Then you must first declare war on passivity. Passivity is the silent killer of potential. It whispers, tomorrow. It whispers, later. It whispers, you deserve a break. And while it whispers, years slip through your fingers like sand. Do you know how many lives are wasted not in dramatic rebellion, but in quiet delay? Not in open defiance, but in subtle compromise. 1,000 small concessions, 1,000 small indulgences, 1,000 moments of choosing ease over effort, and suddenly a decade is gone. If you are waiting to feel motivated before you act, you will wait your entire life. An edge is not built on feelings. It is built on decisions. When you decide that your mind will no longer be a playground for every stray thought, you begin to build your edge. When you decide that your body will no longer dictate your discipline, you begin to build your edge. When you decide that your time will no longer be squandered on trivialities, you begin to build your edge. But understand this, building your edge will isolate you. Not because you are better than others, but because you are no longer willing to bow to what they tolerate. When you stop laughing at what degrades you, when you stop consuming what weakens you, when you stop participating in conversations that shrink your vision, people will notice. Some will mock you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will quietly resent you because your discipline exposes their compromise. Do not be surprised by this. The sharp blade does not apologize for being sharp. There is a seriousness required if you are going to build your edge. a holy seriousness, not a gloomy, joyless existence, but a weightiness that understands life is not a game. You have been given breath. You have been given time. You have been given strength. And you will answer for how you used it. This is not about ego. This is not about becoming superior. This is about stewardship. You have gifts. You have abilities. You have opportunities. And every day you either sharpen them or you dull them. Every hour matters. Every decision matters. Every habit matters. Show me your habits, and I will show you your future edge or your future dullness. You do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. If your discipline is weak, your edge will be dull. If your discipline is inconsistent, your edge will be unreliable. If your discipline is strong and unwavering, your edge will cut through obstacles that stop others in their tracks. But discipline requires something most people avoid: self-denial. We live in an age that worships the self. Follow your heart. Indulge your desires. Be true to your feelings. And yet, how many hearts are leading people into chaos? How many unchecked desires have destroyed promising lives? Your heart is not your master. Your impulses are not your king. If you are ruled by every craving, you are not free, you are enslaved. And enslaved people do not build edges. You must learn to say no to yourself. No to the extra hour of mindless scrolling. No to the second and third helping when your body has had enough. No to the laziness that creeps in when the task becomes difficult. No to the voice that says, "This is good enough." Good enough has buried more greatness than failure ever could. If you are going to build your edge, you must despise mediocrity in your own life. Not in others, leave others alone. But in yourself, you must be ruthless. You must examine your speech. Is it careless? Is it shallow? Is it full of complaint and excuse? Then you are dulling your edge. You must examine your thoughts. Are they disciplined? Are they purposeful? Or do they wander endlessly through distraction and fantasy? Then you are dulling your edge. You must examine your commitments. Do you start strong and fade quickly? Do you make promises to yourself and break them with ease? Every broken promise to yourself chips away at your edge. Integrity sharpens. Compromise corrodes. You cannot build your edge while living a divided life. Some of you want to be powerful in public, but are careless in private. You want influence but neglect character. You want authority but avoid accountability. That is not an edge, that is a facade. Your private life is the forge of your public edge. What you do when no one is watching shapes who you become when everyone is watching. Do you think strength appears on demand? Do you think courage materializes in crisis if it has not been cultivated in quiet? The battle does not create the warrior, it reveals him. And the revelation can be terrifying if the preparation has been neglected. Build your edge before you need it. Do not wait for crisis to discipline you. Do not wait for failure to wake you up. Do not wait for loss to teach you what you should have learned in comfort. There is a cost to sharpening. It requires friction. Iron sharpens iron. Yes, but that means sparks. That means collision. That means you allow yourself to be challenged, corrected, confronted. Do you surround yourself with people who flatter you or people who refine you? If everyone in your circle affirms every decision you make, you are not being sharpened, you are being dulled. Seek those who tell you the truth. Seek those who call you higher. Seek those who refuse to let you settle. They may irritate you at times. They may expose weaknesses you would rather ignore, but that friction is mercy. And do not only seek sharpening, offer it. Speak truth with courage. Live with conviction. Stand firm when others waver. Your edge is not built merely for your own benefit. A sharp blade has purpose beyond itself. But here is a warning: do not confuse business with sharpness. Some of you are exhausted but not effective, active but not advancing. You fill your days with noise and call it productivity. But an edge is not built by motion alone. It is built by intentional pressure in the right direction. You must learn to focus. Scattered effort produces scattered results. You cannot chase every opportunity. You cannot respond to every distraction. You cannot allow your attention to be hijacked by every notification and every trend. Attention is one of your greatest assets. Guard it fiercely. When you sit to work, work. When you train, train. When you study, study. Be fully present. Half-hearted effort produces half-formed results. An edge requires depth. Go deeper than others are willing to go. When others skim, you study. When others quit, you persist. When others complain, you endure. When others are satisfied with surface understanding, you dig until you reach bedrock. There is a difference between interest and commitment. Interest shows up when convenient. Commitment shows up regardless of cost. If you are merely interested in growth, you will grow slowly and inconsistently. If you are committed to growth, you will structure your life around it. Structure is not bondage, it is freedom. The athlete who trains consistently is freer in competition. The musician who practices relentlessly is freer in performance. The leader who disciplines his mind is freer in decision. Freedom is found on the far side of discipline. But there is something even deeper than discipline required to build your edge. There must be conviction about who you are and what you are called to do. If you do not know why you are sharpening yourself, you will eventually stop. Pain without purpose is unbearable, but pain with purpose is transformative. Why do you rise early? Why do you push past fatigue? Why do you say no when others say yes? If your answer is shallow fame, applause, comparison, you will burn out. Those motives cannot sustain you. You must anchor your life in something greater than personal ambition. You were not created merely to consume and exist. You were created to reflect excellence, to steward ability, to bring order out of chaos, to stand firm when others crumble. There is a weight to that calling, and that weight should humble you, because you cannot build your edge in pride. Pride makes you think you have arrived. Pride makes you resist correction. Pride makes you overestimate your strength and underestimate your weaknesses. Humility, on the other hand, keeps you sharp. The humble person knows there is always more to learn. The humble person invites feedback. The humble person examines his own failures without excuse. If you want to dull your edge quickly, surround yourself with praise and reject critique. If you want to sharpen it, welcome truth, even when it stings. And let us speak plainly about distraction, because it is one of the greatest enemies of your edge. You live in a world engineered to fragment your focus. Endless entertainment, endless noise, endless comparison. You carry in your pocket a device that can steal hours without resistance. Every moment spent consuming without intention is a moment not invested in sharpening. This does not mean you must live as an ascetic, cut off from all enjoyment, but it does mean you must be ruthless about what you allow to shape your mind. What you repeatedly see, you slowly become. What you repeatedly hear, you eventually believe. What you repeatedly do, you permanently embody. So examine your inputs. Are they strengthening your convictions or weakening them? Are they expanding your vision or shrinking it? Are they fueling discipline or feeding indulgence? You cannot build a sharp edge on a dull foundation. And do not think that youth excuses you from this responsibility. The habits you form now will either empower or enslave you later. A small compromise repeated daily becomes a chain. A small discipline repeated daily becomes a blade. Time magnifies everything. If you waste it, it will expose you. If you steward it, it will reward you. There are people far more talented than you who will accomplish less because they lack discipline. There are people with fewer advantages who will surpass you because they refuse to quit. Grit is not glamorous. Consistency is not celebrated. But they build edges that brilliance alone cannot. You must learn to endure. Endure boredom. Endure repetition. Endure slow progress. The sharpening process is often invisible. You may not feel stronger each day. You may not see dramatic change each week. But if you remain faithful, over months and years, the transformation will be undeniable. Do not despise small beginnings. Every master was once a beginner who refused to remain one. Every strong person was once weak, but decided to train. Every disciplined mind was once scattered, but chose to focus. And understand this clearly: building your edge is not about becoming harsh, cold, or unfeeling. A sharp blade in reckless hands is dangerous. Character must guide competence. Your edge must be governed by integrity, compassion, and wisdom. Otherwise, your strength will harm rather than help. The world does not merely need sharp people. It needs sharp people with clean hands and clear hearts. Examine your motives regularly. Are you building your edge to serve or to dominate, to uplift or to impress, to make a difference or to win applause? Applause fades quickly. Impact endures. And there will be seasons when the sharpening feels relentless, when you are tired of pushing, when you are weary of resisting temptation, when you wonder if the effort is worth it. In those moments, remember this: the cost of discipline is always less than the cost of regret. Regret cuts deeper than any blade. Regret whispers, "You could have been more." Regret reminds you of squandered years and neglected opportunities. Discipline may sting in the moment, but regret lingers for a lifetime. Choose your pain wisely. Choose the pain that produces growth, not the pain that follows neglect. There is also a spiritual dimension to building your edge that cannot be ignored. You are more than muscle and mind. You have a soul. And if your soul is neglected, your edge will be unstable. Strength without moral clarity is dangerous. Ambition without righteousness is destructive. You must cultivate your inner life. Silence your heart before the noise of the day. Examine your conscience. Align your desires with what is good and true. Seek wisdom beyond your own understanding. A person who disciplines his body but neglects his soul is imbalanced. A person who sharpens his intellect but ignores his character is incomplete. True edge is holistic. It is strength anchored in truth. It is discipline guided by conviction. It is ambition restrained by humility. And make no mistake, you will fail along the way. You will miss days. You will fall short. You will have moments of weakness. But failure is not final unless you surrender to it. A dull moment does not mean a dull life. When you stumble, do not wallow. Stand up quickly. Correct course. Learn the lesson. Resume the sharpening. Consistency is not perfection, it is persistence. And guard your mind against comparison. Comparison either inflates you or deflates you. If you compare yourself to those who are less disciplined, you grow proud and complacent. If you compare yourself to those far ahead, you grow discouraged and paralyzed. Measure yourself against your own potential. Are you better than you were last year? More focused, more disciplined, more courageous? If not, why? Excuses are easy to manufacture. Blame is easy to assign. But responsibility is the gateway to growth. You are responsible for your habits. You are responsible for your effort. You are responsible for what you tolerate in your own life. No one else can build your edge for you. Mentors can guide you. Friends can encourage you. Critics can sharpen you. But ultimately, you must choose the fire. You must choose the early morning when others sleep. You must choose the difficult conversation when others avoid it. You must choose the extra repetition when others quit. You must choose the truth when lies would be easier. Every choice either sharpens or dulls. There is no neutral. You are either becoming more focused or more distracted, more disciplined or more indulgent, more courageous or more timid. Time does not stand still, so do not wait for a dramatic moment to begin. Begin now, with the next hour, with the next task, with the next decision. Sharpen your speech. Let it be measured and purposeful. Sharpen your thoughts. Let them be disciplined and constructive. Sharpen your body. Let it be trained and capable. Sharpen your skills. Let them be refined and excellent. Sharpen your character. Let it be upright and unwavering. And as you do, you will notice something. Confidence will grow, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet assurance that comes from preparation. Peace will grow, not because life is easy, but because you know you have done the work. Clarity will grow, not because all questions are answered, but because your mind is not clouded by chaos. This is the fruit of building your edge. It is not flashy. It is not immediate. But it is powerful. And one day, when the moment of testing comes, and it will come, you will not panic. When pressure rises, you will not crumble. When responsibility increases, you will not retreat, because you have been forged in smaller fires. You have trained in quiet seasons. You have built an edge that can withstand the weight placed upon it. Do not underestimate what a disciplined life can accomplish over decades. Small daily faithfulness compounds into extraordinary strength. And long after trends have faded, long after noise has quieted, long after excuses have been exposed for what they are. The one who has built his edge through conviction, discipline, humility, and endurance will stand firm, ready unshaken, prepared for whatever task is placed before him, unwilling to bow to weakness, unwilling to compromise with mediocrity, unwilling to surrender the ground he has fought to gain, continuing to sharpen, continuing to refine, continuing to press forward with eyes fixed on what is good and true and worthy, refusing to drift, refusing to dull, refusing to settle, embracing the fire, welcoming the friction, choosing again and again the narrow path of discipline over the wide road of ease, determined that when his days are counted and his strength is measured, it will be said that he did not waste his breath. He did not squander his gifts. He did not live as dull iron in a world desperate for sharpness, but rose each day with resolve to build, to sharpen, to strengthen, and to stand ready for every good work set before him in the time he has been given. Discipline is not a personality trait reserved for a select few. It is not a gift handed out at birth, nor is it a mood that visits when circumstances are favorable. Discipline is a decision made repeatedly, especially when every fiber of your being demands the opposite. And it is that decision, repeated over days, months, and years, that becomes the forge where your edge is formed. An edge does not appear by accident. Steel does not sharpen itself. It must be thrust into fire, struck with force, cooled, reheated, and struck again. The process is deliberate. It is intense. It is uncomfortable. And if the steel had a voice, it might call the hammer cruel and the fire unnecessary. Yet without them, it remains dull, harmless, unused, and easily discarded. So it is with you. You may have dreams, you may have ambitions, you may even have talent, but without discipline, all of it remains blunt potential. Potential without discipline is like raw iron buried in the earth, full of possibility, but of no use until it submits to the process. Discipline begins in the smallest decisions. It begins when the alarm sounds and your body begs for another hour. It begins when your mind seeks distraction in the middle of focused work. It begins when you are tired, irritated, uninspired, and yet you choose to continue. These moments seem insignificant at first. They do not feel heroic. They are quiet, almost invisible. But they are the hammer blows that shape your edge. Most people underestimate the power of daily obedience to simple commitments. They look for dramatic breakthroughs, for sudden transformation, for an overwhelming surge of motivation that will carry them into greatness. But discipline does not shout. It whispers. It shows up quietly and asks, "Will you do what you said you would do?" When you honor that whisper, even when no one else is watching, you are stepping into the forge. There is a myth that discipline is restrictive, that it suffocates freedom and crushes spontaneity. But the truth is the opposite. Indulgence enslaves. Impulse imprisons. A life ruled by cravings and moods is not free. It is chaotic. Discipline brings order. It sets boundaries around your time, your energy, your desires, so that your life does not unravel under its own weight. Consider the athlete who trains relentlessly. His regimen may look confining to the casual observer: early mornings, strict diet, repetitive drills. Yet when competition comes, He moves with a freedom others cannot comprehend. His body obeys him. His mind is steady. He is not shackled by weakness because he has already confronted it in training. That is what discipline does. It confronts weakness before weakness confronts you. Without discipline, you live reactively. You respond to whatever feeling is loudest in the moment. You eat when you crave, speak when you are angry, quit when you are tired, and procrastinate when the task is difficult. Your life becomes a series of reactions rather than a deliberate construction. But when discipline takes root, you move from reaction to intention. You decide in advance who you will be and what you will do. You create structure not because you love rigidity, but because you value purpose. You stop asking, "What do I feel like doing?" and begin asking, "What must be done?" That shift is powerful. The forge of discipline is not built in comfort. It is built in resistance. Every time you deny yourself something easy for the sake of something better, you strengthen your will. Every time you persist beyond the point of convenience, you thicken your resolve. The will, like muscle, grows under strain, and strain is unavoidable if you desire an edge. Look at your habits. They are the clearest reflection of your discipline. Habits are simply decisions automated through repetition. If your habits are careless, your life will be careless. If your habits are intentional, your life will reflect that intention. Discipline is not proven in occasional bursts of excellence. It is revealed in the patterns you sustain. It is easy to begin. It is much harder to continue. Many people start with enthusiasm. They commit to a new routine, a new goal, a new standard. For a week or two, they are consistent. But then the novelty fades. The excitement diminishes. The results are slower than expected. And this is where the forge becomes hot. This is where discipline is tested. Will you continue when the initial surge of motivation disappears? Will you persist when progress feels invisible? Will you show up when no one applauds? These questions separate those who admire sharpness from those who possess it. Discipline is forged in repetition. It is built in the mundane, in the ordinary, in the daily grind that most people try to escape. You cannot despise routine and expect to build excellence. Mastery lies on the other side of repetition, and repetition is humbling. It forces you to confront your limitations. It exposes your impatience. It reveals how much you still have to learn. But if you endure it, repetition refines you. It sands away arrogance. It strengthens your focus. It deepens your competence. There is also a moral dimension to discipline. It is not merely about productivity or achievement. It is about integrity. When you commit to something and follow through, you are building trust with yourself. You are reinforcing the belief that your word matters. Every broken commitment weakens that trust. Every kept commitment strengthens it. If you cannot rely on yourself, how will others? Discipline shapes your character before it shapes your success. It trains you to choose what is right over what is easy. It teaches you to value long-term growth over short-term pleasure. It reminds you that you are not a slave to your impulses. The world around you constantly invites you to indulge. It celebrates convenience. It rewards speed over depth. It glorifies instant gratification. In such a climate, discipline feels radical. It feels almost rebellious to say no to excess, to say no to distraction, to say no to laziness. But that rebellion is precisely what builds your edge. When you resist the constant pull of distraction, your focus sharpens. When you resist the lure of comfort, your endurance strengthens. When you resist the temptation to quit, your resilience deepens. Each act of resistance is a strike of the hammer. Understand that discipline is not harsh self-punishment. It is purposeful training. The blacksmith does not strike the steel out of anger, but out of intention. Every blow is calculated to shape the blade. In the same way, your discipline must be guided by purpose. You are not denying yourself for the sake of denial. You are shaping yourself for usefulness. Purpose fuels perseverance. If you lack a clear reason for your discipline, it will eventually erode. But when you know why you are training, why you are studying, why you are sacrificing, the fire becomes bearable. It becomes meaningful. There will be days when you feel weak, days when your energy is low and your confidence falters. Discipline does not demand perfection, it demands persistence. Even on your worst days, you can take a small step forward. A small act of obedience is still a strike in the forge. Do not underestimate the cumulative power of small disciplines. 10 minutes of focused effort each day compounds. One healthy choice repeated daily transforms a body. A single hour of study each evening shapes a mind over years. The changes are gradual, almost imperceptible at first. But over time, they are undeniable. The forge does not work in a single moment. It works through sustained heat and repeated pressure. And discipline requires sacrifice. You cannot say yes to everything. To build your edge, you must decline what dulls you. You must limit what distracts you. You must guard your time and energy. This may mean fewer entertainments, fewer indulgences, fewer careless conversations. Sacrifice is not lost when it serves a greater gain. When you give up what weakens you, you make room for what strengthens you. When you remove what scatters your focus, you create space for depth. Discipline clears away the clutter that prevents growth. There is a profound dignity in disciplined living. It communicates seriousness. It signals that you value your time, your abilities, your responsibilities. It reflects an understanding that life is not to be drifted through, but stewarded. And discipline produces confidence, not arrogance, but quiet assurance. When you have trained consistently, you stand differently. When you have done the work, you are not easily shaken. You know what you are capable of because you have tested yourself in the forge. Confidence built on hype collapses under pressure. Confidence built on discipline endures. When crisis comes, and it will, your habits will carry you. You will not suddenly rise to a level you have never practiced. You will fall back on what you have repeatedly done. If you have practiced quitting, you will quit. If you have practiced perseverance, you will endure. That is why discipline must become a way of life, not a temporary experiment. It must shape your mornings and your evenings. It must influence your speech and your thoughts. It must govern your commitments and your reactions. It must become woven into your identity. You are not merely someone who occasionally exercises discipline. you are someone who lives by it. This identity shift is powerful. When discipline becomes part of who you believe you are, your choices align more naturally. You no longer debate every decision. You act in accordance with the standard you have set. But guard against pride. The moment you believe you have fully arrived, you begin to dull. Discipline is not a destination, it is a continual process. Even the sharpest blade requires maintenance. Neglect it, and rust will form. Remain vigilant, examine your habits regularly, adjust where needed. Increase the pressure when growth stagnates. Rest when necessary, but do not retreat. The forge is not meant to destroy you, but to strengthen you. Learn to discern the difference between wise recovery and lazy avoidance. And remember, discipline is not merely about what you avoid, it is about what you pursue. It is about actively seeking growth. It is about leaning into challenges rather than evading them. It is about choosing the narrow road of excellence over the wide road of mediocrity. Mediocrity is always available. It asks little and gives little. It is comfortable, predictable, and common. Discipline rejects mediocrity. It insists on higher standards. It demands more effort. It refuses to settle. You cannot build your edge while embracing mediocrity. At times, you may feel isolated in your discipline. Others may not understand your boundaries or your commitments. They may mock your seriousness or question your intensity. But remember, the forge is often solitary. The shaping of character and strength happens in private long before it is displayed in public. Do not seek constant validation. Seek progress. Do not crave applause. Crave growth. Over time, the results of your discipline will speak louder than any explanation. Your consistency will distinguish you. Your steadiness will earn respect. Your edge will become evident in the way you think, the way you work, the way you endure. And when opportunities arise, you will be ready, not because you were lucky, but because you were disciplined. Not because you were naturally gifted, but because you submitted to the forge. Discipline is the daily choice to align your actions with your highest convictions. It is the willingness to endure discomfort for the sake of becoming stronger. It is the quiet, relentless commitment to growth that does not waver when feelings shift. In that forge, your weaknesses are exposed and refined. In that heat, your resolve is strengthened. In that repetition, your skills are sharpened. And slowly, steadily, almost imperceptibly at first, your edge begins to form, strong, reliable, capable, ready to meet resistance without breaking, ready to serve with excellence, ready to stand firm when lesser resolve would crumble under the weight of pressure and demand.